they see us doing this?
You got the green. Now they can see.
Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Rita Giganti and Linda Armstrong. Today is Friday, June the 5th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time, and wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. And as you can tell, we're in a happy Friday mode. The ladies are dancing to the music and getting excited, and that's what we like to do to get the energy up. Hopefully, if you're feeling not quite so energetic, we're going to try to pick you up because, ladies, we were talking before the show. It has been a bit of a trying time. I kind of label it a terrible trifecta between the pandemic and a crashed economy and the racial tensions. There's been a lot to deal with.
Yeah.
And today is all about how we are dealing with it and what we can do to deal with it better. So I'm going to just start off with the most obvious question. How are you guys dealing with stuff? How are you doing?
Yeah.
Me personally, I don't pay attention to any of the news. I just
Always
don't.
a winning strategy.
You know, like I'll hear dribs and drabs. My husband and my son will look at stuff, so that's all I need. They can let me know the key points. You know.
Right.
But like as you were saying, your daily dose of happy, what came on my mind was, fuck it, just be happy. Okay, there's always going to be a lot of crap going on in the world, but the only way to override that is for more of us to lift the vibration, right? And the only way you're going to manifest the things that you want in your life is to be in a higher vibration. So like that's my motto these days. Fuck it, be happy. So if my vibration is going down, I'll do.
We need a new song.
That's a new song.
We need a new song. Fuck it, be happy.
Yeah, find ways.
I like it.
Find ways to be happy. Even just saying that makes you laugh, right? Fuck it, be happy.
Yeah.
I'm in a miserable mood. Fuck it, universe. I'm gonna be happy.
There's actually a book called Fuck It Therapy, if
That's
anybody's interested. Yeah.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, he was a Hay House author, and he was speaking right before I went on, and he was hysterical. He was this like British guy who, talked all about how you can fuck your way through the day. So I was like, this is my kind of thing. Yes, let's just go in that direction. You're right. I mean, I'm the same way. I can't really listen to it on a daily basis at all. I get the drips and drabs. That's enough for me. And I continue to just hold the space, of higher vibration because somebody has to do it. Like we can't all just be in the shitter, And like you said before, Linda, there's a lot of things with the protests, but there's a lot of love connected to that too. It's not just, it's not all about hate. And, there's people are really starting to see things. Their eyes are opening, they're getting clearer, and they're voicing finally. Everybody was just kind of going along and just doing their thing. Nobody was really paying a lot of attention until all this shit happened, until we had a pandemic.
And now to add to that, a lot of and you notice, because I hear this from my husband and my son, and I see some things on YouTube now and then, a lot of the people being arrested aren't even from the towns where these riots are happening, right? So there is this theory, or maybe a truth, that people are being shipped in to make this bigger because the people want to keep us down from knowing our own truth to create a wonderful life for ourselves, that want to feed that fear. I heard they're dropping off pallets and bricks, right? Where's that pallet of brick come from? It just showed up, there's a lot of stuff like that. So I'll hear that and I'm like, okay, great. Well, I'm just going to keep sending the love out, right? So I actually did a meditation that I put on my YouTube channel that I listened to for myself. And when I was listening to myself after I had recorded this thing, after I uploaded it, my energy was so expanded. I was in such this beautiful place, and the whole thing in the meditation was about bringing in light and sending out love. So I'm like, yeah, that's a better place for me to be. That's where I can do any good, is to all of us to be able to fuck it, be happy, send love. Let's add that. Send love. Fuck it, be happy, send love.
Okay.
You have to make that a hashtag today. This will be the first time I ever published anything that's a 4-letter word on the site, but that's okay. There's a first time for everything. But
Hey,
the topic you guys came up with for today's show, and you came up with it a couple days ago, really fits perfectly with what we're talking about, because we're talking right now about how to get into that happy space. If I could be happy, and we're also talking about putting out that high level of energy. But there's something we have to do first before we can do that, and that's the basis of the topic today.
Right.
So, Linda, you're the one who actually named the topic. Why don't you name the topic for the listeners so that they can join in and tell us what you were thinking about when you came up with it?
Well, I was actually listening to a recording of Dr. Dane here from Access Consciousness, and he was talking a lot about this, how you have to honor yourself first before the universe can honor you. And it goes right into law of attraction, because like attracts like. So when we're doing things that are not honoring to ourselves, we're sending out that energy that we are not deserving or honorable or whatever it is to be able to allow good come in for us. Right. And so there's so many ways in which we don't honor ourselves that we don't always really consider. And so that's some of the things I wanted to talk today. You know, like if you're allowing yourself to be around people who always put you down and make you feel bad, you're not honoring yourself by allowing yourself to continue to be in that space.
Or like me, who needed to call Linda like 3 days ago because I was struggling with something, and I was just putting it off. And I realized that I'm not doing what's in my best interest. I know I have to make the phone call. I know I have to switch things up, and because I can feel things happening. And I finally made the phone call today on the day of the show.
What, Rita? I meant to tell you before, but I didn't think about it. It was probably a couple of days ago when I thought to myself, I should call Rita for a reading.
Yeah, we're on the same wavelength.
One ear out the other, but obviously the energy. See, that's the thing, people. There's an energy field, and when you tap into it, those are like things. Now, I kind of got distracted from whatever I was, because I can't even remember why I wanted to talk to you, but I'm sure it'll come back.
It always does.
It always does. And then Rita called me today, and I'm like, oh yeah, I was called Rita a couple of days ago.
Right. Yeah, it was probably the same time, of course. So Walt, what are you doing to help yourself?
Well, I was asked a similar question by Cindy Chavez on Wednesday. She was asking me about what my go-to things are when I when I need to get into a better feeling place, and I started naming things. The first thing I named was doing a podcast, and I counted that 5 days a week. That's one of my favorite things to do. But I also have a number of things that I do. I didn't do it today, partly because the air quality wasn't all that good, but I didn't get out for my nature walk. But that's one of my favorite things to do too, is to get out into nature, to just enjoy being out in relatively clean air and amongst wildlife, amongst trees and flowers and all that kind of thing. Because there's an energy there that is a very soothing and a very calming energy. So that's one of my favorite things as well. I like interacting with our cats, playing with the cats, petting them. I mean, animals, anybody who has a pet knows just how wonderful it is to have the unconditional love that an animal gives you on demand whenever you want it. They're just there for you. It's great. Listening to music. I love listening to music as a way to calm me down and feel better and so forth. And I also like doing various kinds of deliberate exercises. I haven't been doing them quite as much lately as I often have done, but I have a video that I made that I watch pretty much every day. I have mirror exercises that I do, and the whole purpose of all of these different activities is me time. It's about giving me the refueling of the energy that I need to be me, to be the best me that I can be. And the more that I remember to do that, not just day to day, but hour by hour, moment by moment, I do better. Those days when I don't give myself that honor, that honoring of myself, I do worse. And I really believe this is important stuff, because if we look at the people in our lives who we tend to be critical of, who are we most critical of? I don't know about you. I'm more critical of myself than anybody.
Sure.
So it just kind of adds to the importance of, wow, I really, really, really need to honor myself.
Right.
You're kind of speaking a lot to what things you can do to shift into a higher vibration.
Mm-hmm.
Really, what I wanted to point out to people is looking, it's a little bit deeper and even a little harder to confront, is to look at things in your life that are not honoring you. Situations that you're in, maybe jobs that you're in, maybe things that you do for people who maybe you don't feel are appreciated, who knows what. Certain people that when you're around them, all of a sudden you shrink, right? So it's not honoring of you yourself to continue to allow, because bottom line is we create our reality.
Right.
So it's not that person's fault that is creating something that makes us feel small. It's our fault for allowing it to happen, for being there within
Right.
it, and not changing it in some way, or changing ourselves to where we can be in that space and not have it affect us. Because
Right.
sometimes you have to be in that space, right? Like if it's family or a job that you need to stay in until you can move out. And the other thing too, just a quickie little thing, if you move out of a job because it's miserable, you're just going to recreate that, right? So,
Right.
and that's another aspect of this that he was talking about. Those things that don't honor you, you want to find gratitude for them,
Mm.
right?
That's
Because
a challenge.
gratitude for them and the gifts that they gave you, or the purpose, because remember, you create your own reality, right? So this is how it was created. And so if you can find gratitude for this maybe miserable thing that's going on and what was good out of that, then that energy it just goes away. It doesn't have to follow you into the next thing. Now I'm sure Rita could take that a lot, further.
Oh my God, can I? Because I've done it so many times. For me, I feel like those things, when you're not paying attention, spirit says, oh, okay, well, we'll just recreate that. And your energy just recreates it. And then until you get to the point where you recognize it. And some people recognize it and stay there anyway, right? That's a choice. And some people recognize it and say, I got to change this, but maybe don't know how to change it. They get some help to change it. And it can be very easy. It really all depends on how we surrender to it, because surrendering is probably one of the hardest things I've learned in this life, because I never really felt like I had a lot of control in my home growing up. So then to learn to surrender to spirit, like an entity I couldn't see at the time, was a very difficult thing for me. So it's no mistake that I am very empathic and can feel, because that's how I connect to spirit. I feel it. So I don't have to see it. I don't have to hear it. I don't have to. I may have those, but those aren't a have to, because I always feel it. And for me, it's what connects me the deepest to them. But gratitude, what you were saying before, anytime I'm praising spirit or just in the moment of that, it's an immediate shift in energy. It's immediate change of my my outlook, and then things around me start to fall into place, almost instantly, and as I learned to do that, I just started doing it more before even anything happens. Like I'm in a situation where I'm miserable and I'm trying to find the good in it. I'm just having that gratitude on a consistent basis to stay above it, you know what I mean, not to get into that. So
Yeah, and maybe too, because then you're sensing spirit and you're feeling that energy, you're receptive then, right? You've allowed yourself to receive
right,
gift of that energy that spirit brings with it, right?
right.
So where was I going to go with that? I had a thought on that. All right, so that's the thing. You want to be able to receive for yourself, to be able to pull yourself out of the things that are not honoring to you.
Right.
So if you stay there, you're allowing yourself to receive the things you don't want, right? Within these other situations. So it's really important to notice, and then you can feel it in your body. Does this honor me to stay in this relationship? Does it honor me to stay in this job? How does it feel if I were to look for another job? So does it feel lighter? Does it feel heavier, right?
Mm-hmm.
I imagine if you're in this if you have a friend who's always like knocking you down and criticizing you and judging you, and you ask, how does it feel to stay in this relationship? It's going to feel heavy. I can't imagine it's ever going to feel lighter,
Mm-hmm.
But then, so one way to maybe check what feels light and what feels heavy in your body, is then think about being around people you love to be around. Okay, how does it feel when you're around those people? And you're probably going to feel a more open feeling, right? So it's a great barometer just to feel, is it heavy or is it light, to know what things are honoring you or not honoring you.
Right.
You have to take a moment to be very aware and conscious to ask the questions, or to notice before you get squashed, if something's honoring you. Right.
Yeah. But it's one thing to be aware of it. It's another thing then to make the shift, because there are times where I tend to procrastinate, and I know I'm not honoring myself when I do that. I know the difference between the procrastination and, you know what, it's time to rest, right? So when I get into that space, I get frustrated with myself because I need to get past that piece so that I can move forward, And sometimes it's like barreling right through. Like I'm just like, I got to do it. Once I start, it's like wildfire. Then it just takes over, and I get so much accomplished. But it's actually getting to that point, where like maybe there's so much on my plate, and I'm like, where do I begin? And I don't know. And then I just procrastinate. I'm like, I'm not doing it. But I know when I say that, I'm not honoring myself, And then you were talking about relationship, right? You're in a relationship with this person that doesn't treat you well, and you ask yourself, how does it feel to be in this relationship? But if they've been treated that way growing up, in a family like that, we're going even a step deeper now. That has to be looked at, and that's, I think, sometimes what scares people, to have to go back and look at that.
Yeah.
Because then they have to make a change.
Plus, to the point where people can actually, and I've been seeing this, I've seen it in myself, and I've also been seeing it in others, in terms of what they've posted online. People can get to the point where they really are not paying attention to what it is that they're really feeling. They're trying to turn, I'm feeling this thing, and normally I would not feel good about it, but I'm going to pretend that I really do feel good about it today, even though I really don't feel good about it. And if anything comes up to make me even suspect that I don't feel good about it, I'm going to deny that I don't feel good about it. It's almost like this little trapped atmosphere. Like, I know I got to be politically correct about this. I gotta be feeling good. So I'm going to convince myself that I feel good, but I don't really feel good.
Right.
And that's dishonoring.
Right.
It is.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But that's the whole thing about awareness. It's like, and choice. Like Rita chose to take action. So every 10 seconds you can make a new choice, right? And sometimes we're a little stubborn because the energy is familiar for us. I mean, there's
absolutely
myself out much quicker, and I don't. And I'm like, I'm even consciously aware that, no, I'm just gonna stay here a little longer. I'll do it later.
Exactly. But here's the thing, we're all going to do that at some point. We're human, right? So not to get stuck on that. Oh, look what I did. I did, I procrastinated the whole day. I didn't get anything done. Now you're beating yourself up. Now you can't get past that now. So the idea is not to stay in that. The idea is, all right, I fucked up, move on, right? Just love yourself, forgive yourself, let it go, move on, and start new.
Ask some questions. How does it get any better than this? Right.
Right.
Question, or what else is possible here? Or even in that situation, what is it here that I'm not seeing that is actually helping me? Maybe you can acknowledge that, take that, and leave with that. Like I'm into asking lots of questions. But one thing also is, nobody can hurt you unless you allow them to hurt you.
Right.
Because if you don't believe that you're a creator, then you'll blame it on everybody else all the time.
Sure.
Now, sure, we might be molded into something because of other things, but that's the whole thing about awakening, right? We start to awaken to, I'm just reliving a pattern that's so familiar to me, that was always with me. But guess what? I can choose to let it go now. I see it now. I can choose to let it go now. And then you find someone who can do that for you, like Rita and I, lots of people like us.
Absolutely. And we need each other, Don't think we don't need each other, because we do. Yeah. So that's why I called Linda. I said, let's do something. Let's barter, because I need some help.
Yeah.
Louise almost every single day will come to me, especially now that finally the gardening season has started here in the Thiessen household, because normally we start April 1st, and this year we started June 1st because of the pandemic, but it's
Right.
finally up and running. And of course, that just kind of adds to situations because now we're running a business on top of everything else and dealing with employees who are also been dealing with pandemic issues and other issues and so forth, and dealing with customers who are, they were really, really antsy. When are you guys coming out? And all that kind of thing. So
Right.
it just kind of piles up one on top of the other. So it becomes really important in situations like that for Louise to do what she'll often do is come to me during the day and just kind of sit down. I'm sitting here at the computer as I usually am because I'm doing my work here, and she'll come and sit down, and I'll just turn and we'll just talk just to break the whole thing up. Just shift the whole energy of whatever it is that's going on at that particular moment, just because
Right.
it needs to be done. And it's
Right.
great. It's a wonderful thing to do that. Because
Yeah.
when I do that, when she does that, it breaks a spell almost.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because we can become entranced by the nonsense that we're dealing with.
Yeah.
And when you break that spell, all of a sudden possibilities open up again. Infinite possibilities, as my friend Dan Mangana likes to label them, because they are infinite.
I
Sure.
a picture of the two of you sitting there and just this connection between your two heart centers, right? So even that, you're just building up that love then.
Yeah.
Because you're not arguing. You're talking about stuff going on, and you're helping each other out to you might call it bouncing things off each other, but really you're just dissipating the energy attached to it all.
Oh yeah, in a big way. And one of the most important pieces of that, this may sound strange to somebody. It's not going to sound strange to you guys, I'm sure, but to some people it might sound strange. One of the most specifically fabulous things about it is she'll sit down, we start talking, and we just start to smile at each other.
Uh-oh.
And that smile,
contagious.
it is contagious. It just kind of takes over the whole atmosphere. Everything else that was going on 5 seconds ago dissipates because of that smile.
Right.
It's amazing.
Isn't that great?
It is great.
And your cat probably walk in the room then too. I know when I meditate, my cat, she just knows, okay, we're going into an energy.
Yeah.
Sure.
My dog snores through the whole thing. Out cold. He's like, whatever, do whatever you want to me.
That's what I call really being in the air. He's so much in the energy, he just ready to sleep through it.
It's great. I love it. Cracks me up.
That is funny. That's great.
Yeah.
All right. Well, now we've got at least the issue is kind of framed, so we have an idea of what we're talking about here. What are some of your favorite ways to honor yourselves? I gave a list of my things that I like to do, but how do you guys like to honor yourselves?
For me, it's reading, and sometimes it's just reading a fiction book, and sometimes it's reading like about this kind of work or anything related to spirit. Dancing is like at the top of the list. So yeah, and singing. I enjoy singing. I like to write, but it's not, I have to be in that space. I have to be in that space to feel that, and that's part of the procrastination for me. It's like getting me into that space to write, but that would be another way of honoring myself. And I like to be outside like you, Walt. I want to be in that. Is a very different energy now with Mother Earth than there was before all of this. And if you really, some people may not recognize it because they were so, caught up in their world, and they don't maybe notice it, but there's a huge difference now in her energy. And
if you were to describe that energy, how would you describe it? What's different about it?
It's palpable because I can feel like so there's a humming energy to her. I feel like she's humming, she's singing, she's, there's this, it's like when you take a deep breath and you go, right? Mm-hmm. It's that kind of energy. And there's so many more birds and animals around that there weren't before that I noticed, and butterflies, and you notice these things, but it's doubled now in my backyard. I don't know how it is in everybody else's backyard. And you can feel her almost just take this huge breath and just like a sigh of relief. Like there's not that many cars on the road. There's not, it's also, there's a stillness to it, and a feeling of, but like stillness, I don't necessarily even mean where it has to be quiet. There's a stillness like, there's a stillness that creates a peace that I have not even experienced before, when I connect to her. It's like more peace. It's like she's responded in a way, in such a tremendous way, just with the little bit that we've done to help her. I feel like she responded tenfold to us,
Mm.
And for me, when I'm sitting outside in my backyard and I'm in that gratitude and I'm speaking to her and, whatever it is, it just because I don't want to leave the spot. It's like I'm there. I have this overwhelming peace, and all is right. There's no matter what's going on the outside, the pandemic, the riots, or whatever's going on, the protests, all is right in that moment. And I know that everything will be okay,
Very reassuring feeling you're describing there.
Yeah, it's that feeling you would want to get from your mother or your father growing up in a house that you didn't get,
Right.
And so when I get it, it's like, oh, it's like, yeah, I'm safe. Everything's cool.
Mm-hmm.
I'm surrounded. I feel like I'm in a little bubble of light, and then I do an exchange with her, which is like, kind of like when you're doing, I don't know if anybody's experienced this. Sometimes when I'm sitting and I'm thinking, maybe Jesus or Mary, and I'm asking them to give me energy, I kind of connect, and we are feeding each other, almost in a circular motion. Like it comes through me,
Mm-hmm.
goes into the earth, up and around again. You know what I mean? That kind of thing.
Sure.
So that's the kind of feeling I get with Mother Earth. It's like I can feel her come up into my body through my head, and then it just keeps going over and over and over again. And then I just spread the energy out to all of Japan, and as far as it will extend, to my family members and people I know and don't even know. Because I think, that's a way that, and it may not, so for some it may say, well, does it really feel like you're doing anything? Wouldn't it feel better if you went out and protested? No, the point is, what I'm doing is creating a peace and an energy to send out that the world needs. That's plenty. You know what I mean? And if I had someone sitting on either side of me doing it with me, it would just intensify that energy. So I know people are doing this on a daily basis, right? From all over the world.
Mm-hmm.
So the more we do it, the faster we're going to heal. There won't be any more pandemics. We won't have to learn all these lessons that we're learning now, because we will have gotten past it. We will have healed, and then we will be right with Mother Earth and Spirit, and we'll all co-create together the way it's supposed to be.
Totally.
As you were describing all that, first I hadn't really paid attention to it, but I had noticed a huge increase in, for me, it's sound. That's what I connect to these.
Okay.
And I was hearing loud nature sounds the last few days.
Mhm.
Huge amount. I mean, birds. Oh, the birds were just absolutely
Singing.
chattering.
My goodness.
I mean, I'd go out. One of our cats, of course, is a 24-hour outside cat, so we feed him outside this time of year. I went out to feed Joy, and I mean, it was deafening.
Yeah.
It was just deafening how much activity there was, insect life, bird life, animal life. Just, whoa, what is going
It's
on?
like they're all talking, and they're having these conversations, and then I start conversating with them, and
Mhm.
it becomes, and I laugh at myself because I haven't, like I don't really know what they're saying, but I get right in on it, and I think to myself, what could it hurt? But you're right. It's beyond anything I've ever experienced on the earth. And maybe when I was a kid, I might have experienced that because things were a little bit less tumultuous back then, meaning on the earth plane, like it's not as heavy as it is now than it was back then. So maybe I might have experienced, actually, I do remember a few actual moments where I thought, my God, this is heaven on earth. There was so much peace. But they were far and few in between. But now to feel it at our ages, because you think kids feel this all the time because they don't get caught up the way, the way our heads do. They just go with the flow kind of thing,
Sure.
So it's nice to be in that childlike energy again.
So I'm with Rita on that. Like for me, my go-to if I really need to shift my energy is meditate. Stop whatever I'm doing and just let myself return back to me and get into that space. Because when you can actually really allow your energy, or once you start to know and feel that you can expand your energy, it gets easier and easier and easier.
Right.
Then when you're in that, really, it's almost undescribable what this energy is. You cannot help but send it out.
Right.
You can't help it. It just happens.
Feels so good. You gotta share it.
I gotta send this here and I gotta send this there. And sometimes I'll start like with my immediate family and I'm like, screw it, send it to the whole world. Now I just go to the world, but then I backtrack. Now I go to the world and I backtrack to make sure that those
you got everybody
covered.
Yeah.
Which doesn't need to happen. You just need to
of course
and just sending it out. That will always shift the energy. It's just a matter of making the choice to go and do it.
Yeah.
The choice is important.
Doing artwork, dancing. I love, and I haven't been doing much of that. So I'll start doing more of that. Like, especially when I'm doing the artwork, like put some music on and start getting grooving. Cause I used to love to dance.
Yeah.
But going outside,
it's a must.
I have this area, and Rita knows about it, where there's like this energy portal there. And I don't do it in the winter though, because it's kind of cold, I've gone out there all covered up, but it's just too cold. I sit on my deck and I just stare into that area. Like reality shifts, it's like everything starts flowing, like the trees, almost like being in I've been in earthquakes in California, those ones that are rolling, they're like a wave of water. It's kind of like that. Things get pixelated, colors come out from where that portal area is. It's just like that will shift your energy like this.
Like that. Exactly. Yeah.
You were talking earlier, Rita, about the putting out of energy and basically referring to energy that you don't really necessarily know who it's going to or where it's going or how it's working. You're just putting out high vibe energy, knowing that it's going to be useful.
Sure.
And I was thinking about that kind of from the other perspective, from the recipient end, because we never really think about it that way. Like if we're dealing with stuff and we're asking for help or whatever, we never really think about the fact that other people put out energy that we can be grabbing onto. But that does happen. It happens regularly, on a regular basis. I mean, Linda, you've talked about it. You've talked about how you like to go out and just randomly send energy to people, and that's probably something that happens a lot, and we aren't aware of it on a physical basis necessarily, but it's still happening anyway. So I guess my point is, anytime that we're feeling like we need to reach out for help, all we have to do is remember the help is out there because people have been putting it out. We just have to reach out for it.
Yeah. And that's when I like to pull energy from the universe. You just pull the energy because it's out there. So let's pull in some love. Let's pull in some healings, whatever it is you want to pull in. I started, before all this pandemic happened, I was pulling in new clients, past clients, people who I can help, people who are a match to me that I can help them, whatever. And then I started having old clients call me, new clients, because I was drawing the energy, because everything's
right.
I told that story about the deli counter clerk, right? Where I was sending, it was like New Year's Eve. Did I tell you that story?
I don't remember that one.
Okay. So it was like a New Year's Eve, right? And New Year's Eve day. And I went to my local thing and I went to get some, I don't know why I was getting cold cuts or sandwiches or something like that. And there was a guy there all by himself. Like everybody was not coming into work that day, and he's having to do it all. And this guy's energy was so bad. Like I could see it. He was so frustrated. Another guy came over. All he did was like complain to him about nobody coming. That's how I knew nobody was coming in, because I heard him bitching and moaning about it. I'm thinking to myself, and back then I didn't do all the stuff I do now. I was just doing Reiki back, which doesn't matter. It's all the same thing. So I start sending this guy Reiki. I'm like, okay, because I had my number and I'm waiting. And I'm just like, okay, this guy, he needs some help here. So let's just flow him this good energy, flow this love, this Reiki energy to this guy. By the time he gave me my stuff, he was a different person. Now, he didn't know I was
great,
right?
I've witnessed things like that.
Yeah, it's just like you can see the shift. Like that's another way it's proved to me how energy flows, because that was early.
Absolutely.
Reiki's like the first energy healing modality I dabbled with, and I'm like, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
It's cool too, because it means we get the opportunity to experience firsthand just how powerful our energy is. We can do the experiment you just did, that you just described.
But
and
also,
we can do it anytime and get an immediate result.
A part of it too, though, is he was receptive to it.
Sure.
Open to it, because sometimes people aren't open to it. I mean, I've done it before, and so this woman looked at me and I said, "You know that story, right?" Well,
like, I've experienced it a few times, actually.
Around now, bitch.
Although I think Louise, my wife, has the best solution in terms of getting a high response rate, because she does it with little kids, especially kids in the supermarket. You're standing in line at the checkout counter, and the kid is kind of wailing away, and the mom's trying to deal with it. And Louise will just kind of get the kid's attention. She's really good at that. I mean, literally, she only has to look at the kid for about 1.5 seconds, and snap, the head comes over to Louise. And then she just, does her thing to interact with the kid energetically and through smiles and so forth. It's just amazing how quickly she can get that kind of rapport going, and she can do it every time.
Yeah, that's
I had
great.
to point out to her how good she is at it. She didn't even realize how good she was.
She's very connected to her inner child.
Yeah,
that's great.
Absolutely. Yeah,
I love that.
Natural, you don't know how good you are because you think everybody can do this.
That's right. Yeah. In fact, she wasn't even thinking about it consciously. It was almost like a program that she had been running since. I mean, she used to work in daycare, so I mean, this was just, it was part of what she did every day, and this is just carrying on the same program. But when I pointed it out to her, she said, "Oh yeah, I guess I do that."
So the other thing I wanted to say about Mother Earth, that maybe people don't know and can utilize, she's forever recycling energy. So when let's say I go outside and I put my feet on the ground and I just release everything that doesn't feel good, right? And I ask her to take it. Well, automatically she recycles that energy back into love and sends it out. Okay. And then I ask her to feed me good energy. So if you feel like crap and you want to release stuff, don't be afraid to go out and release it to Mother Earth, because this is the way she likes to co-create with us. She says, give it to me, I'll recycle it, and then I'll give it back. Or if you need to call your energy back, like you've given it out so much to people and you're depleted and you don't know how to get that energy, you could either go to Mother Earth or you could sit with your eyes closed for 30 seconds and say to Spirit, I'm calling all my energy back that I gave out today. I need it. And it comes right back to you.
Yep.
So you always can be full. You never have to be depleted. Okay, that was a sidebar.
That's a good one, though, because I think it's probably the one thing today, more than anything else, that a large number of people need to hear.
Yeah, they don't know. Well, people were so on the go. When this all happened, like I was amazed when I heard that people were bored, because this was like a gift. This was like, you have been bitching for how many years that you don't have enough time to do everything. And here it is, So I'm just like loving it. I'm just, not loving a pandemic.
No.
I'm loving the time that I'm getting from it. That's all I'm saying. And hopefully when all is said and done, we can allow ourselves to continue to do and take the time that we need for ourselves, which is going back to the whole honoring thing that we're talking about here, right?
It's a great example of how we tend to ignore the stuff that we manifest. I mean, you just described it very nicely. We manifested, huge numbers of people manifested this one thing they've been wanting more than anything else, and they forgot they manifested it. They didn't even
They
make the
manifested it, even though it's a pandemic, we still
That's
did it,
right.
But maybe that's what we needed in order to wake up. Maybe,
Mhm.
maybe something else wouldn't have done it. Maybe we needed, like 9/11. It was devastating, but God, it created so much compassion, so much love, so much of everything. Um, it's, people just have to understand that we are the creators here.
I think
There's
Linda
no,
kind of referred to it a week or two, 3 weeks ago, something like that. She described it as like we had a reset, a reboot.
yeah,
Isn't that
exactly.
the word you used to describe it, Linda? I think
Yeah,
you said it that way.
probably. I
Yeah.
don't remember. um, even those people who lost their jobs, right? Well, maybe there's an intervention here so that you choose to do what's next for me. Okay, what is possible for me? What's next for me? How can I create my life? Whatever these questions you could ask. But maybe it's just the boost or the kick you needed to say, you know what, I'm not doing that freaking job anymore anyway. I hate it. I'd rather do this.
Right.
You know?
Right. Exactly.
Doesn't light me up. Okay, so what does? Where maybe there's a way you can introduce or find a job or create a business that allows you to be more of that
Right.
energy. Because we want to try and do things by honoring ourselves is by doing things that we love and we enjoy and not having to stay stuck in something that we're not.
And listen, nothing ever feels like a job when you love it.
Right.
That's the
true.
bottom line. Nothing feels like a job when you love it. So, you know, it's what is it that makes you, but what is it that makes your body feel, that gives you that tingle on the inside, that gives you that wow feeling that you get up in the morning, you can't wait to work,
It's make you feel alive.
it's not even work anymore. Not
Yeah.
even work anymore. So hopefully people are finding that now. That's a really good way to see it at this point, you know.
Well, clearly we are going through a shift, and I,
There's
I
no
label it
no
I
doubt.
label it from the beginning of the year as being the year of clarity. And I think there are new forms of clarity coming to all people in a variety of different ways. Different people are experiencing it differently, but certainly the experience of going through a pandemic has created clarity for a large number of people in terms of valuing what they had kind of taken for granted before. Same thing
Uh,
true with an economic decline. The economic decline has
Yes.
once again taken stuff that people kind of took for granted, maybe were even bitching and complaining about, and all of a sudden now they're seeing it in an entirely different light. Like, wow, I really didn't appreciate what I had while I had it, and
Right.
I really want to get that back again. Same
Right.
thing is true with. I think it's also true with what's going on with the racial situation. People are beginning to realize just how much stuff that we as a culture, as a society, have been hanging on to that we really didn't want to hang on to, and how we hadn't really valued the stuff that we really wanted to hang on to. So
Right.
again, these are all opportunities to just notice what we hadn't been noticing before, and that is a form of clarity.
you know,
Sure.
I wanted to add another thing I'll do, like to feel good. Besides watching a show, I might, allowing myself to binge for hours in a show or something. It's like, okay, I'm just gonna chill and enjoy this drama, these crazy people. Because most of the time, you look at some of these shows, you're like, oh my god. Anyway, because it's not reality. But I posted a video I happened to find of Tony Robbins the other day about the COVID-19. That was a really good video. I go to his site and you'll find it on YouTube. And if you ever heard of Ralph Smart, Infinite Waters,
That name sounds
No.
familiar.
got like almost 2 million followers. He talks about energy and all of that, and he used to do a lot of law of attraction talk, but now he's really talking about this whole big shift and the awakening. And it's inspiring when you watch his videos too, because just the way he puts it is fun anyway, because he's a bit of a character anyway. It's like nothing's ever going to be the same. It's like it's happening, this awakening. There's no going back. Things are changing, and sometimes we can't see the benefit of it. It's like the honoring thing when I'm saying find gratitude for that crappy thing in your life. You're not seeing where that's honoring you. So all of this chaos that's going on is part of this whole big shift into a whole nother dimension where none of this stuff matters anymore.
Right.
We're gonna read each other's minds and know what's what and flow through the heart, and that's gonna be our new norm.
Yeah.
So maybe we.
Well, you put it that way. That sounds exciting. I mean, really, it's like that's like sign me up.
Maybe we'll do another show on that kind of stuff at some point. But
yeah, that's something that's we need to pull in a lot of information about so people could understand what that means, because I mean, being an Italian, I mean, I talk is like, it's like eating. It's like second nature, So telepathic is great, but I can't imagine myself not talking, and maybe it'd just be telepathically using my hands. I don't know.
Well, Italians are known for talking
I get
two
it.
ways at once, right? They do it with the voice, they do it with the hands. So why not also do it, vibration?
With the mind, yeah.
So now you got 3 different ways going.
I'm
Exactly.
assuming that just being in that flow where the thoughts just go,
Yeah.
we'll feel so much better,
Yeah.
But then I had this thought too. It was like, do you turn it on and off? Like, do you have to hear everybody's thoughts of the 10, 15, 20, 50, 100 people around you right now?
Yeah, no.
We're going to have to learn all that stuff. How do you
and this is a little ways off, but this is what's coming.
Yeah.
This is what's coming. So
Well,
learning how to heal your.
I think all of us are experiencing it when we don't realize that we're experiencing it. And I can give you an example that happened just today. Louise and I had to go out to a local garden center because we, as a business, we obviously have to have supplies on hand because we'll run through them pretty quickly. And with the pandemic, a lot of manufacturing actually stopped. So stuff's been running out. So we had to go make sure we had enough hollytone and enough plant tone. And there's a particular kind of lobster compost that we use and various stuff like that. So we were basically stocking up on this stuff so we could get through the main part of the season without our suppliers running out. And we were at where were we? We were at Lowe's today, one of the places we went to, and we're checking out with what we've been able to find at that store. And a woman is checking us out, really nice woman, but like everybody else, we're all behind masks, right? So there's a limited amount of interaction going on. And yet, despite that limited amount of interaction, as we're winding up the transaction, she says, "Thank you," in a very cheery voice. And Louise says, "No, thank you." And she says, "No, thank you." And Louise says, "No, thank you." And she says, "No, thank you." And I jump in, "No, thank you." And we're just doing this thing, "No, thank you," and getting happier and happier and laughing and joking and turning into this big game of "No, thank you, no, thank you, no, thank you."
And guess what? That energy fueled the whole entire shop.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's great.
That's not something we would normally associate with the kind of telepathic conversation you're having, but that you were talking about rather. But that's really what was going on.
Right.
Even if we don't associate it, it still was going on.
Well,
right.
This thing with Rita thinking of calling me a few days ago, and I thought of calling her. Did I think of calling her because she was thinking of calling me? Did she popped in my head, so I popped in her head, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I find that all the time.
Yeah.
I know who's calling me on the phone. I can hear your phone rings the same for everybody, but for me, it's like, oh, that's my sister Yolanda. Nah, that's this one. That's that. And the phone is still ringing the same, but I can feel it. I know who it is, That helps me to know if I want to answer it or not.
Right.
Who needs caller ID? You got Rita ID.
Rita ID, yeah. Yeah, and also when people text you, I don't know, I feel the energy when someone texts it. Like I know exactly how they're telling me something. If it's not nice or if it's like, if it's sweet, if it's this, you can feel the energy of that immediately, I don't know if anybody else can, but I can.
For the longest time, I got confused about that because very often my own energy would be inserted, and I'd say, "Well, they're reaching out about this," and they weren't, and it was because I was already pre-paving with something I was feeling.
Ah,
But I think what you're describing is a scenario where we end up doing that part less, and so we're able to tap into what's really coming through.
right,
We're not
right,
blocking ourselves, so to speak.
right. Yeah.
Interesting, because I've had people take my text the wrong way, like in a much stronger way than I might have put it out there.
Mm-hmm.
But I've had that happen before, where people just, you know, some women told me they were afraid of me. I'm like, me? Why are you afraid of me for? The energy was big. But I have to look at, well, if they took it in that negative kind of a way, that must be somewhere within me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it wouldn't show up.
Mm. But
Something,
where is it in them?
or why did they take it that, whatever. It's
Right.
always
Where
a
is exactly. Exactly. So,
That's part of what continues to happen through the process that Rita, you were describing quite eloquently. This process of Mother Earth recycling, energy building, um, shift taking place, getting to a place where we're more telepathic, for lack of a better term. All of that is part of a larger pattern that Linda has been talking about here on the show for about the last year and a half, in which Linda calls it like a global energy raising. I think it's a good way of describing it. It's like it's almost like there's more energy than there was before, and it's like this pool that keeps building.
Yeah, well, it goes back to what Rita was saying, because basically the Earth's vibration is changing rapidly, and we're catching up to it.
rapidly, like, like at the speed of light rapidly. And when you're not in a place, when you're in a lower vibrational energy, or you're not even aware of energy, it could be very uncomfortable to go through that, that shift, that change. So getting help, like, people that are healers and that can help you shift is great to have. And also, we as healers, even though we feel it and we know what's going on, doesn't mean it's not it at sometimes at some points difficult for us and we need the help.
Sure.
So I just want people to know that we're all the same here. We may be at a different frequency or a vibration, but we've all experienced pretty much the same thing in this life, emotionally, maybe different circumstances, but the same type of emotions. So it doesn't mean somebody's above somebody else or further ahead than anybody else. You are where you're supposed to be. That doesn't mean you can't get to where you need to be at any given time. It's, do you want to get there?
Yeah.
So that's the question. Do you want to get there? Because you if you wanted to stay in that lower, listen, I know plenty of people that aren't moving from that space. They're just not. They just don't want to. There's too much fear attached to it. They don't understand what it would be to move from there. And we have to honor that. We have to honor that choice for them.
That's the whole thing.
But what do? We keep putting out a good vibration. Who knows? Maybe one day they'll get wind of it and feel comfortable.
Right.
And we can carry them to the next vibration instead of them having to struggle.
Yeah.
Struggle. It doesn't have to be a struggle.
Because that's the whole thing with spiritual awakening, is the people who are awakening do notice all these different shifts and lower energies and all this different stuff going on. And it's funny because I have an article I posted on my website blog a while years ago, and it was written by another woman, and I gave her the credit because you're allowed to share it if you give her the credit. It's 51 symptoms of spiritual awakening. I've had, and I can track like where people are going on my website. There's like 100 people a day going to this article of these, because people are wanting to know, what is this? What's going on with me? Why do I feel like this? What's happening? Is this an awakening of some sort? And so it's kind of like the beginning of realizing that you are awakening, and then you go in further and more, and then you start opening up more and more and wanting to learn more. What is this all about? What is this big shift? What's actually really happening? But it does start out from, when you're in those lower places or crazy stuff's happening in your life, you're like, what the heck is going on? Like Rita said, some people might not want to move from that place. And that's okay. That's their choice, because we can all choose whether to evolve or not to evolve. But the way I like to look at it is, you just crack the egg. Like, once you crack the egg, you cannot put it back together, right?
This is true.
It's going to be a struggle if you try. It's going to be a struggle. Your best bet is to kind of just move with it. you know, just
Water,
move
like
with
the
it.
last book we talked about.
That's right. Go with the flow, baby.
Going with the
Go
flow.
with the flow.
By the way, I had to mention, Josie mentioned in the live stream chat that she picked up a copy of Raymond's book. So
Oh, cool.
already we provide an influence that way. She said she got it yesterday and started reading it. She's loving it. So
Yeah, we're gonna have to do another book.
Yeah. That kind of energy. There's another example of energy. We generate some energy here on the show. We put out some really positive energy. And obviously Josie's one of our regular listeners, so she picked up on it pretty quickly. So that's an easy kind of connection to see. But how many other connections like that are happening that we don't even see, and yet
That's
they're
right.
happening?
That's right. Because I thought of it the other day. I'm like, I wonder how many people bought his book, you know, from 19 whatever, just because we talked about it. You know what I mean? Like there's a resurgence of it.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the beauty of sharing, you know, knowledge and energy with people, because you don't know what they can get from one sentence, you know, one sentence, or maybe, you know, they were connected to the Bible, but didn't really understand it. And then he's putting it in a way that they can understand it, you know, and that in and of itself is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
There's a
absolutely.
great book, Being You, Changing the World, by Dr.
Like that.
Access Consciousness guy. And he does a lot of clearings in it. I like to listen to it in audio. But I mean, that's a possibility. Although I think he's even doing a book review of his book on YouTube right now.
Oh, wow.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So if you go to Dr. Dane here, and maybe I got to, you know, I'll find out what link it's at, and I'll put it into the comments on this video.
Okay.
And then if you only listen to a podcast, go to the podcast videos page, and then you can get the link there.
There you go.
Cool. Yeah.
All right. That's good stuff. I like that. One other thing I wanted to ask you in the last few minutes that we have left, we've been talking a lot about the energy raising that's going on, and how it's going on in the midst of basically a lot of crisis, which is not all that surprising when I think about it. But I want to bring up something that I've brought up with Linda before, and I want to see what both Linda's take is now, and Rita, what your take is.
Sure.
When energy rises and other people are kind of stuck where they are, you were just describing that, Rita, how, you know, they just determine they're going to stay where they are. Well, there's a larger variation. There's a larger difference in the energy levels. And whenever you have any kind of a large difference in energy levels, that's going to create a sort of an instability. It's going to make the vibration feel rougher and so forth. So from the perspective of somebody who's kind of stuck down in that place, it's almost like things got worse. And people are expressing that. They're talking about how things have gotten worse.
Right.
What's really happening is that things have gotten better, but because they're kind of stuck down there, it feels like it's gotten worse. And that's what creates that struggle you were talking about. So I just want you to take a moment to kind of address that.
Before Rita does that, that's what's happening in the world.
Yeah, no kidding. Exactly.
It's getting worse. Look at all the crap.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a normal thing. Whenever you're not vibrating at, for instance, when I first tried magnets, right? Someone tried to use magnets on me. My energy wasn't used to that vibration. So I got physically ill from it. Okay. So I had to adjust to that vibration. When you start, and that could happen with music, that could happen with anything if you're not used to the vibration. It's a matter of the body acclimating itself and the energy the energy of the person acclimating itself in the moment. So that's something they can work on. And that's, it's kind of like when you're going into a cold pool and you put your foot in first, right? You ain't throwing yourself in because it's freezing. And then you go down to your knee, and then you go down, and you just got to acclimate to it, acclimate to the water. So you start little by little, and you get help so that you can acclimate to it. Don't run away from it, because it's going to be there. It's going to make you uncomfortable, right? And usually what happens is people are then miserable. They just, you know, they cut themselves off. They don't want to talk. They don't, because it just makes them feel miserable. But I'm here to tell you, you don't have to feel miserable. There's so much help now, even compared to when I was a kid going through all of this. I don't know how many times I went through the dark night. You don't have to do it anymore. You don't have to suffer.
Right.
So,
you know what? I picked a card while Walt was talking before Rita came in. Upside down, squirrel spirit. Okay. So squirrel spirit is believe in yourself. We got it in the reverse. This is a Colette Baron Reed book.
Yeah, she's good.
So this is what it says. I was reading it while you were talking. this is in the protection message because it's upside down. So it says the unpredictability of life can shake your confidence in yourself and your potential for handling the challenges that come your way. Does the thoughts of not having enough or being enough make you squirrely? Have you forgotten all of your strengths, wisdom, and resources? Have you come so far on your you have come so far on your wits and creativity, making use of all of your potential and all that spirit presents you to help you through life's trying times. It's time to look back on your life and remember how your needs have always been met for the highest good, even in your most challenging times. Life loves you. Was it life? Make sure. Yep. And so many treasures are hidden in plain sight, ready to be received when you most need them. So relax. Squirrel Spirit wants you to know you are poised and ready for whatever's coming next. So trust in yourself and trust in that Spirit has your back.
Nice.
Pretty good card for the day, right?
Absolutely.
Pretty much summarizes what the topic of the day was.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
See that?
I love how that works, right?
I know. Spirit.
They're
the greatest.
So amazing. All right. Well, I think we've done good on this one. So
Yeah.
thank you, ladies, very much. I want to
Very
remind
uplifting.
people who are not yet subscribed to the podcast, become a subscriber. If you're not sure how to do it, go to loatoday.net. You'll find instructions there. Check us out on YouTube. Subscribe there as well. And with that thought, that draws the week to a close for podcasting. We won't pick it up again until Monday. But ladies, I hope you have a great weekend. I mean, I'm hoping the weather's going to be as gorgeous as it's been the last.
I think it is. It's going to be good.
I hadn't looked. Is it scheduled to be?
Yeah, I think it's going to be good.
I saw rain, but let's hope it doesn't.
No, don't say it, Linda. No.
Well, there's a real easy solution there. All we have to do is vibrate to what it is that we want it to be, and it'll turn into that.
Right.
That's right. It'll be sun right over my backyard.
Absolutely. Sunny day. See, that's my ideal. Sunny day, high 60s, low 70s, low humidity, little puffy white clouds, blue sky. I love it.
That's it.
I
It's
love
the
it.
beginning of a meditation. Go get them.
Absolutely. Yes.
It'll be 70s to 80s this coming week, at least from what I saw.
I like the warmth,
I love
so I'm good with that.
I don't think we're going to have any losers on this. That's good. Okay. Thank you, ladies. Thank you, live streamers. Thank you,
Thank you.
podcast listeners. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.